Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome in to the Arrowhead Addict pregame show. My name is Matt Connor. If you're looking for Price, if you're looking for Sterling, Patrick, anyone better looking than me, sorry, you got me. My name is Matt Connor. I'm the editor of Arrowhead Addict. I'm glad to be with you. Hope you're glad and ready for another Chiefs win, hopefully. Let's just say that out loud. Let's manifest good things tonight. We're here with you on the pregame for Week 6. The Detroit Lions visiting Arrowhead. Look, there's already a lot to talk about here because the Chiefs are 2-3, and that's just not where anyone really thought they'd be. Maybe 3-2 if you were pessimistic. Probably 4-1, and here we are with a losing record, and the SEC or the AFC West is looking tougher with the Chargers, Broncos continuing to win. So we already thought that there was a lot to talk about here, but the pregame is really something. There's a lot going on. First of all, I want to talk Josh Simmons. I want to talk Jalen Moore. I also want to talk Christian Fulton, this inactives list. And the Detroit Lions injury list looks like a CVS receipt. Am I right? Anyone ever walked home with those things? So glad you're spending your pregame with us here. Sound off in the comments wherever you're watching this. If you have a question, want to chat, it's just me. So I'm relying on you there a little bit. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed or hit that like button, little things like that go a long way. Reviews, hopefully glowing ones. You get what I'm saying. Anyway, let's dive in. Lots of questions going on. First of all, probably the biggest news of the night as we prepared for the Lions and the Chiefs to take the field here in just a few minutes is the news that Joshua Simmons will not be on the field tonight. Simmons has made all 5 of his starts so far, coming off of a torn patellar last year. We wondered if he'd be available, and then he was. He was readily available from the outset. He's had a sparkling rookie year, played so well from the outset, and has solved that for the long term. Then just before today's game, earlier on Sunday, today, it was announced that he was questionable with a non-injury designation. If you're just joining and wondering what's going on with Simmons. Then later on, James Palmer, Ian Rappaport, and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN kind of all combined with different reports to give us at least a clearer picture that Simmons had a late, quote, family matter, per James Palmer, to attend to out in California, which made his ability to return back to Arrowhead in time for the game doubtful. Then shortly thereafter, he was declared out, and Fowler reported that Jalen Moore, the free agent tackle signed, we'll get to him in just a second, will be starting in his place. So we went from assuming Simmons is going to play, then suddenly Simmons is gone. But why is Simmons gone? But maybe he'll be back. No, he won't be back. And now it's Moore. And so there's a lot here. First of all, just because a late, as a team is preparing, especially for a daunting team like the Lions, they're red hot. They're playing like a contender. They've won 4 straight games. They had a magnificent year last year. Well coached, lots of talent at the key positions. We'll get into some of that stuff in a little bit here. But when you're preparing for a team like the Lions, especially one with such a dominant front line, and while they have their injuries, the front 7 is healthy and they will be a factor here. They prep Simmons for this. You only have so many practices. Here's Simmons being ready to go. And then suddenly when you have a curveball like that, that is not a good thing. In terms of like, every player wants to be ready, but there's a difference between, yeah, I'm ready to play, quote, next man up style, and I'm ready to play because I practiced in full all week. So concern number one there is Simmons' availability, wondering what's going on there. I actually saw some backlash on Chiefs Twitter. I'll just say it. You're bad fans. I'll call it out because I would hope someone would call me out. I mean, a personal matter is a personal matter. It's a family matter. We have no idea what happened. And any conjecture there, wondering like what's up, wondering if this is some I just saw some fans even on Chiefs Twitter talking, like saying this was a part of the character concerns that he had, these kind of, I mean, there's just no way of knowing, and there's no need to even speak about it other than to say we certainly hope that Josh Simmons and everything around him, friends and family, that things are okay there, or at least turn out okay. These things happen. There is life outside of football. And the Chiefs have to be ready for it. So it happened right before the game. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to have conjecture there other than hoping that that's a short-term problem that is getting remedied, whatever is happening there. But this means Jalen Moore has to get ready to face, you're talking Aiden Hutchinson. This is just a dominant front. We'll talk about kind of the lineup here in just a second. But the Chiefs have enjoyed incredible offensive line continuity. Yeah, it's just huge. It's a huge development. The left side of the line has looked good. Now you're messing with the chemistry. I will say this. Kudos to Brett Veach because they planned for this. They planned for, hey, we need a plan A and a plan B at left tackle. They didn't know how it was going to work out. They didn't know that they would not have Josh Simmons in week 6. I'm not saying that kind of, prescient activity here. I'm just saying Brett Veach went into the last offseason going, I'm going to get a guy in free agency I think we can count on, and we're going to draft a guy in late April that we think we can count on. And so if one doesn't work out, we have another good option. It's not like defaulting to Wanya Morris at this point. We already know what he is. That's not been a good thing. It's a limited ceiling. Him earning so many starts over the last 2 years for the Chiefs, that's not like a testament to what he brings to the field. That's a testament to the deficit at the position. So let us know, sound off in the comments how you're feeling about it. Jalen Moore, what kind of job you think he's going to do tonight. Phantom 1090 says, I'm interested to see in how Moore performs tonight. I am too. I think it's going to be a big talking point. Hopefully we don't talk about him at all, and that speaks to him and his ability. Brett Veach will earn a lot of kudos after this game if Moore actually looks the part, and it looks like the Chiefs actually have real depth at tackle. Let's hope that's what we're talking about up front. Also want to talk about one more thing. Christian Fulton. I'm baffled. I'm confounded. I'm dumbfounded. Whatever other Roger thesaurus word I could throw out there. Look, man, Christian Fulton is a healthy, assumedly, inactive today. Christian Fulton inactive. He's played 17 defensive snaps on the season. I put on Twitter, he's played 17 more snaps than Rashee Rice at this point. I just don't get it. Christian Fulton was a healthy and full participant in practice on Wednesday, full participant in practice on Thursday, full participant in practice on Friday. There's been no word of any injury. They didn't downgrade him, anything like that. So he has an ankle injury that he's been nursing. A week ago, head coach Andy Reid said that he was moving around good, like looking the part. And then, my assumption was that seeing him practice all week, that we were going to see Fulton actually get to play. And I was excited about it. Anyone who's out there who's like, Fulton's a bum, what a waste of a signing, Brett Veach. Fulton brings nothing to the field. None of those things are true whatsoever. You can question the signing maybe because of his somewhat of an injury history before, but Fulton played 15 games last year for the Chargers. He started at least, I believe it is, 13 games every year for the last 5 years. So he will miss up to a handful of games in a given season, perhaps. But the body of work there is still, he is a perfect fit in what Spags wants corners to do. They signed him to start on the boundary opposite Jalen Watson to allow Trent McDuffie to slide inside more. Noel Williams has been a revelation there, but then he only got 4 snaps last week. So the idea that Fulton is a, quote, healthy scratch, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. The Chiefs, they have good corners. They're not deep or talented enough to leave a kid like Fulton on the sidelines unless he really is still nursing that ankle injury. Maybe something came up. Maybe they're playing it safe. But then here's the confounding part. There's no reason to leave Fulton on the sideline. I'm sorry. You could say, yeah, Williams is good, but they didn't play him last week. You could say, yeah, they've got Watson. Yeah, they've got McDuffie. And maybe Fulton doesn't contribute on special teams like maybe some other guys like Joshua. I'm sorry, man. The Jags just hung 30 points on you. Trevor Lawrence and company had his way with you last week in a loss. There's no room here to toy around with, maybe we don't need Fulton's talent. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. In fact, Brett Veach paid $20 million for 2 years of Fulton. You're not leaving that on the sideline if he's healthy and available to play. So then my question, if he's not healthy and not available to play, and that's not fully being said in the injury report or in media sessions, then why is he not on injured reserve? The guy's played 17 snaps in 2 games, missed 4 full games already. He's occupying a valuable roster spot and not doing anything at all, but showing up in practice only to not show up in season. This is baffling to me, the way that this is being handled. I'm old enough to remember when Eric Berry was week to week for like 4 or 5 months on end. That became laughable that season. I hope that's not what we're seeing from Fulton. So here's what I'm saying. If he's not healthy and if you want to be overly precautious, just throw him on IR and get him over with. If he is healthy, answer the question why he's not out there. I'm not buying it because of special teams or that you're deep enough to handle it without him. You're not. You're 2-3, and the defense has been gutted in more than one game this year, week 1, week 5. So, yeah, I'm not there. I'm also, the other thing I'll just say, anyone who's super down on Fulton, I don't get it. The body of work is there. I know it's been frustrating on the first 6 games, but the vision for what he could do was a well-informed vision. So no one should be giving up just yet on Fulton and just be like, yeah, they don't like him, they don't want him, they don't whatever. I don't think it's like some kind of like, Uche sort of situation where Brett Veach trades for a pass rusher and Spags doesn't play him. I think the communication is better there. Anyway, that's something to watch. I hope that someone asks Andy Reid about that after the game. But let's not talk about who's not playing. Let's talk about who's playing, which is obviously the Chiefs, Lions. I don't know if you guys have seen the Lions injury list. It is huge, but there is some important updates before the game. First of all, on offense, look, the Lions are running roughshod over teams, averaging over, I'm going to say this real slowly. The Lions are averaging over 40 points per game over the last month. 40, not 30, not 28, 20, 40 points a game. And that part of the schedule is a little soft. Bengals, Browns, I get that. But hanging 40 on any NFL team and then hanging an average of 40 on 4 straight NFL teams, that's a tall order. Jared Goff and company, they're high flying and they have most of their component parts here at Arrowhead. It could get into a shootout here. That said, Taylor Decker, starting left tackle, out for this game. Not only that, but his primary backup was placed on injured reserve. Their left tackle 2 was already placed on injured reserve earlier this week. Giovanni Manu. So that means that they're on left tackle 3. You hope that the Chiefs front line can feast in that kind of situation, take advantage of mismatches, and disrupt something. Spags is going to have to do something here because the Lions are a well-oiled machine and they're doing what they do, playing like a contender. That said, the defensive side of the ball here, let me just go over this because this is really something. Now, the Lions already announced Terry Arnold has a shoulder injury. He's going to miss time, maybe considerable time. Definitely not playing tonight, however. He's a boundary. He's a starting boundary corner on the outside. DJ Reed was the exact same, and he's already been out on IR. Then both starting safeties dealing with injuries. Kirby Joseph has been actually playing games while sitting out practices during the week and just kind of doing some pain management, load management there. And then Brian Branch, other starting safety, really talented second-year guy, had an MRI earlier this week. Both guys were game time calls, but the Lions left some safeties inactive, and that's a very clear sign that they're actually more confident in both those guys. So some of the reports that the secondary was going to be like completely depleted, decimated, like the Ravens front line or something from week 4, that's not quite true. The back end of the defense, Detroit has both starters there. They left themselves kind of thin in some depth. So in terms of like downfield help, the Lions do have that in place, even as they're dealing with some injuries. At corner, also Avonte Maddox, nickelback, he's going to be out. So we're going to see some new faces in there. I'm sure a lot of that's going to be in the broadcast. Defensive tackle Aleem McNeil also out. So yeah, the Lions are not at full strength. This is you would hope, especially since Worthy's been back and the offenses look better, you certainly hope that Mahomes and company can feast in a game like this. Wondering what you guys are feeling about all this. Jeremy Kennedy says Fulton is out because Spags doesn't trust him and wants Connor out there. Remember Ben Neiman and Dan Sorensen. Yeah, look, we all know that Spags has all the coaches do, honestly, have devotion to guys that are very frustrating to watch at times. Also, the body of work of this coaching staff is 5 of the last 6 Super Bowl appearances, 3 rings. We really shouldn't be too down on the coaches. The Chiefs are not afraid to be patient during the regular season, even if it maybe costs them a game or two, to learn what they think they need to learn about the state of the roster when it counts the most. So clearly they're wanting to take a longer look at certain players, at certain positions. That said, I think there's got to be something more there with Fulton. We'll kind of see what happens. Nick's Travel says Baltimore also had the highest points per game before playing in KC. Yes, you're right. Totally well said. I tried to bring up the recent schedule. We'll see how that goes. Look, for this game, we had some kind of mixed predictions. I kind of wondered if the Lions would be able to pull this off. Some people at Arrowhead Addict have been, and I hope you guys are readers. I hope you girls are readers. We certainly value, all of you kind of coming to the site and making it part of the way that you enjoy your coverage of the Chiefs. And some of our conversations here among our contributors have been about this being a must-win game. I'd love to read from you. Do you consider this a must-win game for the Chiefs? What happens if KC falls to 2-4? What if the deficit in the AFC West becomes a couple of games as you approach midseason? How panicked would you feel? I have to say, I honestly wouldn't feel panicked. The season is long, 17 games. You can still make the playoffs because of the 7th spot at 10-7, maybe, certainly 11-6. The only thing that really matters is how the team is looking in December and coming down the stretch. So if the loss, I mean, obviously we're hoping they don't lose tonight, hoping they even their record. It'd be a great game in prime time against a big opponent. That would go a long way. And then you get Rice back. Like they could really build some momentum very quickly. But I'm not sure that I think the sky is falling if something happens tonight. Bumpa BB says 100% must win. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Keith Bulow says not a must-win game. Yeah, so it looks like that we kind of have some mixed opinions on that. We'll see there. In terms of Chiefs and actives, by the way, just want to go back to that so we know like who we're dealing with here. It looks like the Chiefs have no Christian Fulton, and then Josh Simmons, and then all the cast of regular characters, Jared Wiley, etc., Hunter Norzad. So yeah, we're not going to have to worry about anything else. It looks like the Chiefs are pretty healthy coming in, like all things considered, and that should bode well for tonight. Major Chip Hazard says it is a must-win for sure. We just lost to a pathetic Jaguars team. Tell that to Liam Cohen. He's got, they're in first place. Another loss could start to affect the locker room. That's a great point. That's a great point because when you have fiery personalities, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, I mean, those guys are the veteran leaders and well paid and should be. That level of emotion in any organization, like not just a football team, not just the Chiefs, when things take a downturn, when you have volatile emotional centers in anything, a family, a classroom, and then certainly a football team, things can turn very quickly. It becomes very dramatic very quickly. And, those guys are veteran guys, but you're right. It could become a combustible situation. And yeah, you got to wonder about that. So, let's hope for a win and let's hope it doesn't turn into that. But appreciate your comment there. Oregon Fishing says, remember when they started 1-5 and everyone gave up? Then there was the 10-0 run and first playoff win with a lot less talented team. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said there. Sorry, I had to cough. So let's talk here about things I hope to see and sound off in the comments if you will. I'd love to know like specific, but besides a win, what are you hoping to see? What I hope to see is some definitive answers in places where a trade could come into play. So I would love to see, like, because he's healthy and he's active, Omar Norman Lott, for example. Brett Veach made a comment before the season started that he was looking for continual help at defensive tackle. Then they brought in a couple veteran guys who were kind of draft busts with their old teams on the practice squad to kind of be around just in case and develop. But Omar Norman Lott has been dealing with some nagging injuries, and as a rookie lineman has played a little like fewer snaps. But now that we're entering midseason, I'm hoping tonight he actually gets a considerable load. So Chris Jones, look, the usage rate for Chris Jones, and I won't have to go all the way into this, but Chris Jones's usage rate is not okay. Not okay. It is a major issue, major concern for the Chiefs. It should be. There's no way the engine to your defense, over 30 years old, should be playing 85% of snaps in a game. That is egregious. So with Norman Lott back in the fold, I want to see him get a major amount of snaps so that Veach can understand how good is he, how much help do we need from the outside. Look, trading back for Derek Nottie, laughable. Pennell's gone. I just, more help is needed there. It's a question of how much. The other area, running back, right? I mean, someone here earlier, I forget who, was mentioning Elijah Mitchell said, why is the San Francisco 49er running back even on the roster? And I agree. I mean, if Elijah Mitchell is not the answer, why are we look, he's either an answer and he should be active and tried out, or get him off the roster and find someone else, because there's nothing there. The guy hasn't been relevant since 2021, right? So yeah, anyway, I don't get that. The backfield, I don't get it. I realize there were a couple good runs last week. I am not convinced. If there was a wholesale move there, like if there was a move that allowed for like a seismic change, I'm all for it. I'm here for like wholesale renovation of the entire backfield. But since we can't do that, at least get Brashard Smith a bunch of snaps tonight. Like, there is just no reason that he should not be receiving a lot of opportunities tonight, a significant number more. Like, I would love to see 12 touches for him tonight. 10 to 12 touches would be great. Yeah. And speaking of back to the secondary, Noel Williams, like, again, why'd you play 4 snaps last week? We just can't see that happen again. Woozy Guy 9 says, I want to see us blitz the crap out of Goff. He folds under pressure, and we have the secondary to get it done. Absolutely. Absolutely. The Spags is going to know. Spags is going to do what he does. If the Lions pull out a win tonight, they're going to be feeling real good about themselves, and they should. Because in the face of these injuries, if they can pull one off in front of the amazing fans at Arrowhead, that's a major feather in their cap. So yeah, you're right. They should feast. I think McDuffie, I'd watch out for Jaden Hicks on maybe here. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the secondary on the blitz is going to be something to see there. Major Chip Hazard says, if McDuffie plays the nickel exclusively, that means he has to get more involved in stopping the run. McDuffie's not built to do that. Yeah, totally understand that. That said, he plays better inside on passing downs, and it's been a little bit, yeah. Unless it's short yardage, Smith should be getting the reps. Talking about the backfield, agreed. Kareem Hunt is good at what he does. The ceiling is so low. And at that whole position, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. By the way, should I make a bold prediction here? How about Big Bob Tonyan getting his first couple of catches tonight? Remember when that was like a thing that we were all looking for? I'm calling it. Big Bob, Robert Tonyan. Let's see some tight end catches tonight. All right, look, folks, we're going to be back here at halftime with the shows that we normally have post game. We're here for you. We're here with you. We're here in Chiefs Kingdom. I'm going to go ahead and call this tonight. That I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Lions are going to play them tough. The safeties being available, that's big. But I have a hard time believing the Chiefs are going to allow themselves to be embarrassed 2 times in a row in prime time. Patrick Mahomes is playing his lights out, and I just think, yeah, they're not going to get embarrassed here. Home crowd makes a difference. I think Tobe has his unit looking much better after it was such a sloppy game last week. I think everyone just wants to burn the tape and turn the page. So I'll go Chiefs 31-28. I think it's going to be an entertaining game if you like offensive fireworks. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Folks, come back at halftime. Hang out with us. We'll be talking about what went wrong, what went right, and then again after the game. And again, if you haven't subscribed, haven't hit the like button, leave us a review if you're listening on wherever you're listening to. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we're excited to see the game tonight. Let's get ourselves ready, set up to watch another night of Chiefs football. Week 6, Lions at Chiefs. Here we go. Go Chiefs.